Hey, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to Life Mastery Decoded for women and women entrepreneurs, where I help you decode the struggles in your life in the areas of health, wealth, and relationships with mind mastery and meditation tools and techniques so that you can live the life that you're proud of. Welcome to today's podcast. Hey ladies, it's Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. Welcome to today's episode where I am hoping to find you in complete care of yourself. So if you are not taking care of yourself, then it is my inspiration that in tonight's podcast that I give you a nugget of inspiration to find that little thread of self-care. This is what happened today. I've been working tirelessly around the clock on my course, on my coaching program, on my internet presence around the clock since I think the beginning of December. Late nights, early morning, sending the boys off to school. I didn't sleep very well last night. I think I finally fell asleep around 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I was awake for whatever reason at 4 and then could not fall back to sleep. When I drove Cameron to school, I got back to the house at it was 8:30. And I told myself, I'm going back to bed. I can't hardly function right now. I can't keep my eyes open. I'm going to go back to bed. And of course, I get home. I make some breakfast. I'm hungry, so I make some breakfast. I make a cup of coffee, which if you know me, coffee is such a bad idea. But I figured it would help because I'm thinking, if I go back to sleep right now, which I needed sleep, I'm not going to get up until 10:30. And then I felt like most of the day is going to be gone. So, and I have this big project that I'm trying to get out that goes along with my commitment to you in getting this podcast out on a regular basis for a year. And so what happened is I was working on this part of my course, which required a lot of typing. I got myself comfortable on the couch, working through, type. Then I had eaten breakfast and drank my coffee and began working. And I would say it was about 12:30 or so. I ate lunch, but a really, really small lunch, which is not usually like me. Sometimes I eat just kind of snacks throughout the day and maybe even skip a lunch, but I ate a small lunch and skipped all the snacks. And during lunch, I had another caffeinated drink. Now it's a natural, like a ginseng carbonated, what do you call it? Like a fruit, but it's like a cherry drink, carbonated, but it's got ginseng in it, so it does have some caffeine. Right about, I would say 3/4 through the drink, I realized that equated, if equated is a word, but that equaled 2 caffeinated drinks for me in about a 4-hour period. So I knew that I was going to be in trouble pretty soon. And sure enough, I would say within a half an hour, I was starting to feel anxious. I was starting to feel very jittery. I could not keep my focus. And I was starting to move around a lot. Right then would have been a good time for me probably to record a podcast. But I ended up going downstairs and working out. I took the dogs outside for a recess and trying to burn off this energy because I could not sit still and focus. And I have this, I put this big deadline on my own plate, which is terrible for me to do because I get overwhelmed so easily. But anyway, I came back in probably an hour or so later and tried to focus again. And it was really challenging, but I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make a list. I'm just going to crank through this last little bit of today's assignment, which was huge, and get this done. And then I will be done for the day. So it turned out to be about 3 o'clock this afternoon. And my done for the day was dragging my butt around the house. I'm thinking about self-care. So I worked for another hour after I dragged my butt around the house. I could hardly keep my eyes open. It's now 4 o'clock. I went and took a shower. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do something for myself, right? I'm just going to kind of relax for a little bit. I'm a little bit wound up. I'm not really able to focus. I didn't really take good care. I'm also getting hungry. So in my mind, when I get done with the shower, I'm going to eat an apple and some peanut butter. And so it's now 4:30 or something. Brandon's about to get dropped off soon at 5:30, and he's our middle son who has autism, so he is picked up from school by our respite worker, and then he gets dropped off a couple hours later. So I didn't eat. I didn't take a nap. I've been the whole entire day on like 3 or 4 hours of sleep. I, of course, took a hot shower, which made my sleepiness even worse. The whole entire day, I was thinking I should stop. I should take a nap. I should close my eyes. I should eat a snack. But I didn't listen. And by the time Brandon got dropped off at 5:30, I ended up giving him a haircut and then started making dinner. And I am like a zombie. Like I am like completely clouded in my head. I never listened. Amy came home. It was about 6:30. And I basically handed off the baton to her as far as finishing dinner. And I'm like, I'm just going to lay on the couch for a half an hour. And I did. I laid on the couch till about 7:30. And this whole entire time, she's like, why didn't you take care of yourself today? Like, why didn't you listen to your body and give it what it needs? And so much of the time, women especially don't do this. And I am not usually in that category, but today I was. And when Amy was looking at me and she's like, listen, you are working so hard and you are getting very little sleep. And even the sleep you do get is not the most restful. You are up in the dark when, getting the kids ready. You work tirelessly, you're exhausted, and you're trying to get this thing out to the world. Well, let me tell you something. From today's alignment, that it started to progressively, by the time I even got home with Cameron, I was probably like a 6. I was so tired. And it progressively went downward. Now, I did finish one of my projects today, and I probably bounced back up to a 6, but my alignment was so low that my output can't be anything other than a 6. So after my little nap on the couch, and then I had a little bit of dinner, I was starting to feel a little bit better. And I'm still asking myself, why didn't I take care of myself throughout the day? I continued to ignore it and ignore it and ignore it. And what ended up happening? I started to feel like crap. Was I able to produce something that was outstanding? I don't know. We'll see. I think so. Early on anyway, but after 3 o'clock, no way. So let's talk about self-care. Women, mothers, and entrepreneurs, do not put ourselves first on the list. Now, I'm not saying this in a selfish way. I'm saying this in a self-love way. If we love ourselves, well, actually, let me say this. You might want to get a pencil for this. This is going to be a really good quote. The amount of self-love you give yourself is the amount of love you can give others. I'll say it again in case that was too fast and you're trying to find a pencil and a piece of paper, or a pen if you use a pen. The amount of self-love you give yourself is the same amount you can give to others. Now let's break that down a little bit. Part of that is using the topic of self-care and looking at your vibrational scale from 1 to 10. Today, looking at self-care, by the time Amy got home, I was clearly a 0. My back hurt from sitting, from not getting enough water, from not getting enough nutrition, not getting any movement in. Like normally I work for an hour, I take a 10-minute break. I work for an hour, I take a 20-minute break. I take a big giant lunch break, and that includes eating healthy fruits, vegetables, a big giant glass of water, taking the dogs outside. And I move my body because I know that sitting is terrible for your body. But my self-care was a 0 all day. 2 caffeinated drinks are terrible for me. It made me anxious. It made me unfocused. That was terrible. I didn't eat a very good lunch. It wasn't very much of a lunch. And then there were no snacks on either side of that, which is what I usually do. So let's talk about a few things that you can do to make sure that you put yourself on the top of the list for just the sake of self-love, because the amount of love that you give yourself is the amount of love you can give others. So think of self-love as a bucket. You're carrying around a 5-gallon bucket in your hands. If that bucket is empty of self-love, you can't offer any of that to anybody else. Your bucket is empty. You're going to walk up to somebody and be like, okay, I've got some love for you. And they're going to look in your bucket and they're gonna be like, you got nothing. Your bucket's empty. Well, yeah, but here, just pretend, right? It's empty. What if your bucket was overflowing? What if your bucket was overflowing? What would you be able to give to someone else? So some of the things, and you probably already know this, but obviously number one for me tonight is to go to bed early. I've been staying up till 1, sometimes 2, and then getting up early with the boys. But the very first thing is getting good sleep. And that's getting good sleep, but good quality sleep. Going to bed at the time that you should go to bed based on how many sleep cycles you need for your body. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go take a test online, type in sleep cycles for your body. Mine is like 4 or 5 or something. So I'm good on like 6 hours of sleep. Now that's 6 good hours of sleep, comfortable. I'm not crowded by the dogs. I'm sleeping well. I'm not disturbed. So 6 good solid hours, I'm good. Amy's, on the other hand, I think hers is like 8 to 9 cycles. And so she's more like between 8 and 10 hours of sleep. So she could go to bed earlier and then get up later. And mine are, I can go to bed after her and get up before her. Either way, but that's totally right. That's exactly how it's been. If I try to stay in bed after my sleep cycles, like after my 6 hours, I start to feel pretty groggy. And that's what we would tell each other, is that we've gotten too much sleep, right? Okay, so getting good quality sleep. The next one is drinking water. So if you're a coffee drinker or a juice, or you guys get like, caffeinated or energy drinks, or the shakes or whatever, is making sure that you are drinking water throughout your day as well. Your body doesn't need Coca-Cola, it doesn't need coffee, and it seems like it needs coffee, but I'll tell you, the only reason you're fueling it with caffeine is because you didn't get good quality sleep. You start getting good quality sleep, you won't need to drink coffee. Now, some of you might like the taste of coffee. I don't. It's not very often that I like coffee or need it. Today I needed it, so I had it and it was all bad. But getting good quality water in your system, and you're talking about 64 ounces a day. So if you are up for 10 hours, you're drinking 4 to 8 to 10 ounces in an hour. And so just kind of sipping it, doing whatever you got to do to make the water good. And I don't mean by adding coffee and sugar and crap to it. I mean water. Put a lemon in there, put a lime in there, have it infused, right? Make it cold, make it lukewarm, doesn't matter. However you can drink water, get water in your system. All of your organs and your brain works on water. So if you are trying to focus, those of you entrepreneurs or in your job, if you really have to focus, you need water. You have to drink water. You have to. Your brain needs it. The other is exercise, getting a little bit of movement. Both Amy and I, we both actually did, when she was an assistant branch manager at a bank, she was up and moving quite a bit. And she had different shifts where she'd be up and kind of moving around the lobby. And then I worked as a manager in a retail environment. And so I was, of course, if you've been in retail, you're talking, 12,000 steps a day. And I was very busy moving stuff, shaking things, the shelves, customer service, holy crap, right? And so then I went to, she went and got a new position as an office manager at a dentist office. And then I, at that time, was an office manager at a chiropractic office. And it was kind of a sit-down, stand-up job. Like I had kind of a stand-up desk, like a desk I could stand at, and then kind of one of those tall stools that it was like, you sort of are standing. Anyway, but my steps went from like 12,000 to maybe 1,200. So I started to feel it on my body. So now as I'm home, it is hard not to sit and stare at the computer all day long, working on my course, working on my programs, and be at the computer when I set my alarm. Every hour, I work for an hour, I get up and I move around. I go downstairs, I go outside, I go for a walk, I go do a few chores, I get up and move around, and then I go back and work. Sometimes I work out a little bit. I have bands that are upstairs or in my office, and I do some stretches. I do a little bit of band work just to kind of get the juices flowing back to my muscles. And it really helps me to become grounded again and to refocus. So getting good sleep, good rested sleep, drinking plenty of water, do whatever you can to get water in your system. Your brain will thank you. and your organs will thank you, and getting some exercise. So if you have a sit down job, get up and just, even if it's just, if you can do it anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes, do some stretches, open your chest up, stretch your arms out, open, as I'm doing it while I'm telling you this, put your arms way up above your head and really stretch out, twist your back a little bit. Bend your knees, bring your legs up, go over to the water cooler, go up the stairs, walk around the parking lot. Whatever you are capable of doing, go do that. And if you work with somebody, you work a front desk and you have a phone, you guys got a tag team on the phone, just say, hey, I'm just gonna run out to my car real quick, I'll be right back. And then just go do some stuff, right? Try to figure it out. Try to really get it into your day. The next is to spend literally, you guys, a couple of minutes just breathing deeply. Do this. I would suggest to do this for 2 minutes. You could even start with 1 minute, because 2 minutes sounds like a long time. Do it for 1 minute each hour and pick a time. Like I would do something that ends with 11. It's one of my favorite numbers. So every time it's 9, it's 9, 11, 10, 11, 11, 11, 12, 11. I'm going to stop for a minute and I'm just going to breathe deeply and breathe all the way in. Let's do it right now together. Oh, and it just puts you right in this present moment. Fill your lungs up all the way to the top and just breathe. We don't give our body nearly enough oxygen. We just don't. We don't give our muscles that need it, our brain, our organs, our lungs, everything, our bloodstream needs oxygen. So breathing in deeply, and then once you get to the top of your lungs, just hold it for like 2 seconds and then release it. It is one of the best, rejuvenating type things. If you can't get up and walk, maybe you alternate a little bit in your hour, is walk for 3 minutes or get up and stretch and push your shoulder backs and move your arms out wide and take big giant movements and look out into the world around you instead of just at the 18 inches in front of you on the computer screen. And straighten your arms and straighten your legs and twist your back a little bit. And then maybe the next half of that hour is deep breathing for 1 minute. It will change your life. And the very last thing, and I think the thing is that a lot of women, mothers, and entrepreneurs do not schedule in their day, is fun. Is just putting just a fun, could be anywhere 20 to 30 minutes or more, whatever you could put in, is I'm going to do something fun. I'm going to go outside and throw the ball for the dogs. I'm going to ride my bike. I'm going to look at my Harry Potter books. I might maybe read a book for fun, though personal development books are fun for me. I might color, I might paint, I might bake some cookies, something that at the end of the day, when someone says, what fun did you have? You can tell them. So again, self-care begins with you. You are filling your own bucket. You are not being selfish, because if you carry that bucket around and it's empty, you have nothing else to give anyone else. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this episode, please take the time to like and share. Also, please visit me on my other social media pages. I'm on Instagram, Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind. I'm on Facebook, where we have this community titled Life Mastery Decoded, and it's a community of women and women entrepreneurs where we come together to support one another in sharing our successes and struggles. You can also check out my YouTube channel, where I share my teachings and my personal journey, and it's simply titled Jen Mack, Jenmac. Have a great day, and I hope to hear from you.